Today, we're going to talk about how to build a clear, coherent mind, especially when the world around us feels, well, pretty chaotic. We're going to approach this whole thing not as a problem you have to solve, but as a structure you get to build. And you're the architect. So let's just kick things off with a question that I think hits home for pretty much everyone. How do you bring order to a restless mind? When you feel like you're being pulled in a million different directions, how do you find that solid ground, that center? Well, the answer is all about a huge shift in how you see things. You're not just a passive resident living inside your own head, you are its architect. You're the one with the power to design it, to build its structure, to make it strong. So here's our blueprint for today. First, we're going to lay a solid foundation with what we'll call anchors. Then we'll inspect our building materials, and that's our beliefs. After that, we'll introduce the master tool for the job, self-awareness. And finally, we'll see how to put it all together to assemble your own mental skyscraper. Okay, first things first, any great building, any skyscraper, it's got to have a rock-solid foundation, right? Because if that foundation is shaky, the whole thing just crumbles under pressure. For your mind, that bedrock, that's your core principles, your non-negotiable anchors. And this right here, this is such a crucial distinction to make. These anchors, they aren't rules. A rule is rigid. It tells you what to do in one specific situation, like don't cross on red. But a principle is like a compass. It tells you how to think in all situations, like value safety over haste. It gives you the flexibility to adapt while always keeping you pointed in the right direction. Just think about the power of an anchor like this one for a second. It's not a rule book for every little thing you do. No, it's a compass for all of your choices. It forces you to pause and ask, is this action in line with the person I ultimately want to be? That's the kind of deep principle that can keep you steady no matter what storm comes your way. So how do you find your own anchors? Well, it starts by looking backwards, by mining your own experience. Think about a time you made a choice and felt totally, completely at peace with it. What value were you honoring in that moment? Now strip away all the little details of that situation until you're left with just the core principle. And here's the real test. Would you stand by that principle even if it cost you something? If the answer is a solid yes, congratulations. You've probably just found an anchor. All right, so our foundation is poured. Now it's time to look at the actual materials we're building with. And those materials are our beliefs. They're the invisible architecture that shapes every single thing we think and do. A healthy belief usually starts out as just a value you decide to hold on to. It's something you choose. For instance, you might decide, you know what, I believe in being honest. It becomes a tool you use, a standard you aim for. It guides you. But here's the catch, and it's a subtle one. That belief, I believe in honesty, can slowly, quietly fuse with your sense of self. It shifts from something you hold to something you are. It morphs into, I am an honest person. Now that might just sound like a tiny change in words, but psychologically, believe me, it is a massive, massive shift. And that brings up the big question, right? So? What's the big deal? What's so dangerous about that little shift from believing in something to being something? It's dangerous because it leads to what we call an identity trap. See, when a belief becomes who you are, any challenge to that belief suddenly feels like a personal attack. Questioning the idea feels like someone is questioning your very self. And what happens then? You get defensive, you get rigid, and your ability to learn, grow, and adapt just shrinks. And you can see the difference so clearly when you put them side by side like this. An anchor is an adaptable compass. It guides your thinking. But an identity? That's a brittle cage. It defines who you are. So when you talk about an anchor, you can be open to discussion. But when someone challenges an identity, your reaction is to defend it emotionally. The real takeaway here is to try and hold your beliefs like tools, not like a definition of your very being. Okay, so we've got our foundation set with anchors. We've inspected our building materials, our beliefs. But now we need the master tool, the one thing that ensures we're building everything correctly. And that tool is self-awareness. It's like a mirror you can carry with you everywhere, letting you see your own mind in action. And look, self-awareness isn't just one thing. It kind of operates on two levels. First, there's reflective awareness. That's looking back after the fact and asking, why did I do that? Why did I react that way? And that's super important for learning. But the real game changer is active awareness. That's observing yourself in the moment. It's the ability to pause and ask, wait a second, what belief is driving this feeling right now?
And the best part is, this isn't some mystical superpower you're born with. It's a skill, and you can totally build it. Journaling is a great way to connect your actions to your thoughts. Simple daily check-ins, just pausing to ask, what am I doing and why, can be huge. And trigger mapping is incredibly powerful. Anytime you feel a really strong emotional reaction, that's like a big, flashing sign pointing directly to a deeply held belief that's worth taking a closer look at.
All right, let's put it all together now. We've got the foundation, we've got the materials, we've got the master tool. It is time to assemble this skyscraper and really create that coherent, strong mental structure we've been talking about. So here it is, the whole architectural plan in one place. Your foundation is built on those chosen, non-negotiable anchors. Your building materials are flexible, carefully inspected beliefs that you hold as tools, not as identities. And your quality inspector on the job site every single day is your own constant, honest self-awareness. And maybe this is the most important part of the whole thing. The goal here isn't to build some perfect, finished statue that you never touch again. The goal is to build a living structure, one that can adapt and grow and be repaired when it needs to be. This is a lifelong project. It's all about ongoing maintenance and renovation. So I'll just leave you with this one last thought. Whether you realize it or not, your mental skyscraper is under construction every single day, with every thought you have and every choice you make. The only real question is, are you the one holding the blueprint?